Hey man, most men completely misunderstand how emotional attachment actually develops in women. They assume attraction is created by saying the right things, showing constant affection, or proving their feelings repeatedly. But if you observe relationships closely enough, you start noticing that attachment rarely grows from words alone. It grows from emotional experiences. A woman becomes attached when a man creates a specific emotional environment around him, one where she feels curiosity, respect, fascination, and a subtle sense that his world has gravity. And that gravity usually comes from what many people call the masculine temperament, a calm, grounded presence that does not bend or collapse emotionally. Just because attraction exists, the masculine temperament is not loud or aggressive the way many people imagine it. In fact, it often appears quiet on the surface. It is the emotional stability of a man who knows what he values, knows where his life is going, and doesn't feel the need to constantly prove himself. When a woman interacts with a man like this, something interesting happens psychologically. She senses that his emotions are not easily shaken. He isn't trying to impress her with dramatic declarations. He isn't anxiously seeking her approval. Instead, he simply exists with a kind of calm certainty that feels different from the restless energy she experiences with many other men. That calm certainty triggers something very important in the dynamics of attraction: curiosity. When a man is emotionally stable and somewhat reserved about his inner world, a woman naturally begins wondering what is going on beneath the surface. She becomes interested in understanding him. She starts paying closer attention to how he reacts to situations, how he speaks, how he carries himself, and the more she observes him, the more emotionally invested she becomes in understanding the layers of his personality. This is where many men unknowingly sabotage their own attractiveness. The moment they feel strong interest in a woman, they begin explaining everything about themselves. They reveal their emotions too quickly. They try to demonstrate how sincere they are, how serious they are, how much they value her, but in doing so, they remove the very process that allows attachment to develop naturally. Instead of allowing her curiosity to grow, they give her the entire emotional story before she has had the chance to explore it herself. Attachment grows strongest when someone feels like they are discovering another person gradually. When a woman senses that there is depth within a man that reveals itself slowly through time and experience, she becomes more emotionally engaged in the relationship. Every interaction adds another layer of understanding. Every conversation reveals something new. That gradual discovery keeps her mind returning to him even when he is not present. Another powerful element of the masculine temperament is emotional composure. A man who maintains calm control over his reactions creates a very different emotional atmosphere than a man who constantly responds impulsively. When situations become stressful, when disagreements happen, when something unexpected occurs, the emotionally grounded man remains steady. He doesn't panic, he doesn't explode, he observes, responds thoughtfully, and maintains his balance. And that stability creates a sense of psychological safety that many women find deeply attractive. But the stability alone isn't what creates desire. What truly creates desire is the combination of stability and independence. A man with masculine temperament does not revolve his entire life around a relationship. He continues pursuing his ambitions, his work, his goals, and his personal growth. The relationship becomes one meaningful part of his life, rather than the center of it, and that independence naturally makes his attention feel more valuable. When a woman senses that a man's life has direction beyond the relationship, she begins seeing him as someone she wants to be part of, rather than someone who depends on her for emotional fulfillment. This changes the entire dynamic of attraction. Instead of feeling like she is being pursued constantly, she begins feeling curiosity about how she fits into his world. That curiosity often leads to deeper emotional investment because she wants to understand the role she plays in the life he is building. Another subtle aspect of the masculine temperament is restraint. Not emotional suppression, but restraint. The man feels deeply, but he does not feel the need to display every emotion immediately. His feelings reveal themselves through consistent behavior rather than dramatic expressions, and that restraint creates emotional tension in the relationship. Not tension in a negative sense, but the kind of tension that keeps the emotional dynamic alive. When all of these qualities come together, calm, confidence, emotional composure, independence, depth, and restraint, they create a presence that many women find incredibly compelling. The attraction doesn't come from manipulation or games. It comes from the psychological experience of interacting with a man who feels solid, purposeful, and slightly mysterious at the same time. And that experience often becomes the foundation upon which genuine emotional attachment begins to grow. Once you start paying attention to this dynamic, you begin noticing something most men completely overlook. Attachment rarely forms because a man tries to make it happen. In fact, the harder a man tries to create attachment through effort, reassurance, or emotional persuasion, the less natural it feels to the woman experiencing it. Real attachment grows in a much quieter way. It develops when a woman begins thinking about the man even when he isn't present, when she finds herself replaying conversations in her mind, when she wonders what he's doing, what he's thinking, and what he truly feels about her. And those thoughts don't appear because he explained everything clearly. They appear because there are emotional spaces that her curiosity is trying to fill. This is why the masculine temperament creates such a powerful emotional effect. A man who carries himself with calm restraint does not rush to fill every emotional silence with explanations. He allows moments to exist without forcing them into certainty. And those moments become extremely important, psychologically, because the human mind naturally moves toward unresolved curiosity. When a woman doesn't feel like she has the entire emotional map of a man, immediately, her attention remains engaged with him. She begins observing more closely, listening more carefully, and gradually investing more emotional energy into understanding him. Another key element of this temperament is emotional steadiness during moments that would normally trigger insecurity in other men. Imagine a situation where a woman tests the emotional stability of the connection. Perhaps she becomes distant for a few days, perhaps she disagrees with him strongly, or perhaps she behaves unpredictably. Many men react to those moments with anxiety. They start asking what's wrong. They start seeking reassurance. They begin trying to repair something that might not actually be broken. But the man with masculine composure reacts differently. He remains calm, he doesn't panic, he observes the situation and responds without emotional desperation. That kind of emotional control sends a very powerful message without needing to say anything directly. It communicates that his emotional state is not fragile. It shows that his confidence does not depend entirely on the approval of the relationship. And when a woman senses that kind of inner stability, something interesting happens. Instead of feeling responsible for maintaining the connection emotionally, she begins leaning toward him with curiosity. She starts wanting to understand how his mind works and why his reactions feel so steady. Over time, this curiosity begins turning into emotional attachment because she associates the man with a unique psychological experience. Being around him feels different from being around men who constantly seek validation or emotional reassurance. His presence feels calm, grounded, and quietly confident. There is a sense that he is guiding his life with purpose rather than drifting emotionally from one reaction to another. And that sense of direction creates a powerful attraction because it suggests strength without needing to prove it. Another reason this temperament creates desire is because it leaves space for the woman to invest emotionally herself. In relationships where the man constantly provides attention, compliments, and emotional reassurance, the woman often becomes the passive receiver of that energy. But when a man shows interest without overwhelming the dynamic with constant emotional expression, the woman naturally begins contributing her own emotional investment. She asks more questions. She initiates conversations. She tries to understand what makes him unique. This shift is extremely important because attachment grows strongest when both people participate in building the emotional connection. When a woman begins investing effort into understanding a man, she gradually becomes more emotionally connected to the relationship. Her thoughts return to him more often. She starts imagining shared experiences in the future. She becomes curious about how their lives might intertwine over time. And all of that attachment grows naturally because she is part of the emotional process rather than simply receiving it. Men who constantly explain their feelings too early often remove this opportunity for mutual emotional investment. When everything is already declared, when every intention, every emotion, every hope is spoken immediately, the woman doesn't need to explore the connection anymore. The emotional journey becomes one-sided rather than shared. But when a man allows the relationship to develop gradually, the woman becomes an active participant in discovering what the connection means. This doesn't mean the man hides his interest or pretends not to care. The masculine temperament is not about emotional suppression, it's about emotional balance. The man expresses interest through his actions, through the time he spends with her, through the way he listens and engages in conversation, but he doesn't rush to define every feeling with words. He allows the connection to speak for itself through experiences, and when attraction develops within that kind of balanced dynamic, attachment often becomes much deeper than anything created through emotional persuasion. The woman doesn't feel like she was convinced to feel something. She feels like the emotions developed naturally through curiosity, respect, and shared experiences, and because those feelings grew through her own emotional investment, they often become much stronger and more lasting than attraction that was created through constant reassurance or dramatic expressions of affection. As a man begins to embody this kind of emotional composure, something else begins to change in the dynamic between him and the woman. He stops trying to control the outcome of the relationship. Instead of constantly wondering whether she likes him enough, whether she will stay, whether the connection will last, he focuses on the present moment. This shift is incredibly powerful because it removes the anxious energy that many men unknowingly bring into relationships. When a man is not desperately trying to secure someone's affection, his behavior becomes more relaxed, more natural, and far more attractive. The woman interacting with him senses that he is not trying to trap her emotionally. Instead, he is simply allowing the relationship to unfold while continuing to live his own life. This sense of emotional freedom creates a very different psychological experience for the woman. When she realizes that the man is not clinging to the relationship, she begins to feel a subtle desire to move closer to him on her own. Not because he is withholding affection, but because his calm independence creates space for her curiosity to grow. She starts noticing small details about him. She wonders what motivates him, what his ambitions are, how he sees the world. The relationship becomes something she wants to explore rather than something she feels pressured to maintain. Another important aspect of masculine temperament is the ability to maintain emotional direction even when attraction is present. Many men lose this balance the moment they feel strong interest in a woman. Their priorities shift overnight, their routines change, their attention becomes centered entirely on the relationship. But the man with strong inner direction does not abandon his path simply because he is attracted to someone. He continues moving toward his goals, continuing his work, his ambitions, his responsibilities. The relationship becomes a meaningful part of his life, but it does not replace the direction he already had. When a woman observes this kind of stability in a man, she often interprets it as strength. Not the loud, aggressive kind of strength that many people associate with masculinity, but the quieter kind, the strength of someone who knows who he is and where he is going. That sense of direction creates a magnetic quality because it suggests that the man's life has purpose beyond the relationship itself. She begins feeling drawn toward that sense of purpose because it offers a glimpse of a life that feels structured and meaningful. Over time, the combination of calm confidence and emotional restraint begins creating a powerful emotional effect. The woman starts associating the man with a sense of psychological stability that she does not always find elsewhere. When she is around him, the emotional environment feels balanced rather than chaotic. Conversations feel grounded rather than desperate. His reactions feel measured rather than impulsive, and that emotional stability allows her to relax while still feeling intrigued by the depth of his personality. At the same time, this dynamic allows attraction to grow through experiences rather than through words. Instead of hearing constant declarations of interest, she observes the man through shared moments. She sees how he treats other people. She notices how he handles challenges. She observes how he makes decisions. Each of these experiences adds another layer to her understanding of who he is, and that gradual process of discovery keeps her emotionally engaged because she is constantly learning something new about him. This is also why the masculine temperament often creates stronger long-term attraction than dramatic emotional intensity. Intensity can create short bursts of excitement, but it often burns out quickly when it is not supported by deeper qualities. Calm strength, on the other hand, creates attraction that builds slowly but steadily over time. The woman begins respecting the man, not only for how he treats her, but for the way he carries himself in every part of his life. As that respect grows, emotional attachment often follows naturally. The woman begins feeling a deeper connection because she sees the man as someone stable enough to build something meaningful with. His composure during difficult moments reassures her that he will not collapse under pressure. His independence reassures her that he will continue growing rather than becoming stagnant. And his restraint keeps the emotional dynamic alive because there are always new layers of his personality revealing themselves through time. Eventually, the relationship reaches a point where the woman feels genuinely invested in the man's world. She becomes interested in his ambitions, his challenges, his successes. She begins imagining how her own life could fit into the path he is creating. That level of emotional engagement is far deeper than the attachment created by dramatic emotional turbulence. It is built on admiration, curiosity, and respect, rather than on confusion or emotional instability. And in the end, that is what truly creates lasting desire. Not manipulation, not emotional chaos, not forced intensity, but the quiet power of a man who lives with purpose, composure, and independence. When a woman encounters that kind of presence, she does not feel pushed toward attachment. She feels drawn toward it naturally. Her curiosity grows into fascination. Her fascination grows into admiration. And over time, that admiration often transforms into the kind of attachment that many men spend years trying to create through words alone. At this stage, something very subtle but powerful begins happening inside the woman's mind. The man has not forced attachment through dramatic emotional effort, yet she finds herself thinking about him more often than she expected. She notices that when something interesting happens in her day, he is one of the first people she thinks about telling. She wonders what he would say about certain situations, how he would react, whether he would find the same things funny that she does. None of these thoughts were demanded or engineered by him. They appeared naturally because his presence created a psychological imprint in her mind, the imprint of someone whose personality still feels partially unexplored. And that sense of the unexplored is extremely powerful in human psychology. When people feel like they completely understand someone too quickly, the relationship can lose its sense of intrigue before deeper emotional investment forms. But when a man reveals his inner world gradually through experiences, rather than constant explanations, the woman feels like she is discovering him piece by piece. Every interaction becomes another clue about who he really is, and the more those discoveries accumulate, the more emotionally involved she becomes in understanding him fully. Another reason the masculine temperament creates such strong attraction is because it resists emotional volatility. In many relationships, emotions fluctuate dramatically. Excitement one moment, frustration the next, insecurity after that. But the man who carries himself with emotional composure does not mirror every emotional wave that passes through the relationship. When tension appears, he remains steady. When uncertainty arises, he observes rather than reacting impulsively. That steadiness creates a psychological anchor that many women find deeply comforting, even while they remain intrigued by him. What this emotional anchor communicates on a deeper level is reliability of character, not predictability in the boring sense, but reliability in the sense that his personality does not collapse under emotional pressure. When disagreements occur, he does not immediately become defensive or anxious. When uncertainty arises, he does not panic and start chasing reassurance. Instead, he approaches situations with patience and perspective, and this ability to remain grounded signals a level of maturity that naturally commands respect. Respect is an often overlooked component of attraction, but it plays an enormous role in female attachment. When a woman respects a man's temperament, his discipline, and the way he carries himself through life, she begins seeing him as someone worthy of deeper emotional investment. Respect builds admiration, and admiration creates the emotional environment where desire can grow without needing constant stimulation. In many ways, admiration is the quiet engine behind long-lasting attraction. Another important element of this dynamic is that the man never abandons his personal direction for the sake of the relationship. His ambitions continue, his work continues, his responsibilities remain part of his daily life. The relationship integrates into that structure rather than replacing it. And when a woman observes that a man's life already has momentum, she often becomes intrigued by the idea of joining that journey rather than becoming the sole focus of his world. This is where many men unknowingly create problems in their relationships. When they become emotionally overwhelmed by attraction, they shift their entire focus toward the woman. Their routines change, their priorities adjust. Their attention becomes completely centered on maintaining the relationship. While this behavior may appear romantic on the surface, it can quietly remove the sense of independence that initially made them attractive. The relationship becomes their primary source of emotional meaning, rather than one meaningful part of a larger life. But the man who maintains his masculine composure does something different. He welcomes the relationship into his life, while continuing to cultivate the things that make his life meaningful outside of it. He understands that attraction thrives best when two complete individuals meet, rather than when one person abandons themselves in order to keep the connection alive. That balance preserves both the emotional intrigue and the respect that fuel long-term desire. Over time, this balanced presence begins shaping how the woman feels about the relationship itself. She no longer sees the man simply as someone she enjoys spending time with. She begins seeing him as someone whose character she admires. His calm strength becomes something she associates with security and stability. At the same time, the layers of his personality that continue revealing themselves keep the emotional dynamic interesting rather than predictable. And this is the moment where genuine attachment often begins to form. Not because the man forced it through constant reassurance, and not because he created emotional turbulence to keep her attention, but because his temperament created a unique psychological experience. Being around him feels steady yet intriguing, grounded yet alive. That combination of composure, independence, and depth creates an environment where attraction matures naturally into desire, and where desire slowly deepens into emotional attachment that feels both exciting and secure at the same time. At this point in the dynamic, the woman often begins realizing something she cannot easily explain with words. The man's presence feels different from what she is used to experiencing with other men. There is no emotional pressure pushing her toward him, yet she feels herself moving closer anyway. There is no constant stream of reassurance demanding her attention, yet she finds herself wanting to give him attention voluntarily. And that voluntary pull is the most powerful form of attraction that can exist, because it comes from her own emotional curiosity, rather than from the man trying to convince her to feel something. This voluntary attraction happens because the masculine temperament creates psychological space inside the relationship. Space is something many people misunderstand. They assume space means distance or emotional coldness, but that is not the case at all. Psychological space simply means the connection is not suffocated by constant emotional intensity. There are moments where each person lives their life independently. There are moments where curiosity has time to grow. And within that space, the woman's mind naturally returns to the man again and again, because the relationship still contains elements she wants to explore. When a man removes all space by constantly expressing feelings, constantly seeking reassurance, and constantly focusing his attention on the woman, he unknowingly eliminates the very conditions that allow attachment to grow. Everything becomes immediately clear. Every emotion is explained. Every intention is announced. And once everything becomes obvious, the emotional journey between the two people stops evolving. But when a man allows space for discovery, the relationship continues unfolding layer by layer. Another powerful effect of the masculine temperament is that it changes the emotional rhythm of the relationship. Instead of dramatic highs and lows created by insecurity or emotional turbulence, the rhythm becomes steady but intriguing. The woman begins feeling a calm excitement around the man rather than emotional chaos. She trusts his stability, yet she remains curious about the depth of his personality. This combination creates a rare emotional environment where attraction can grow without becoming exhausting. Many men underestimate how strongly women respond to emotional stability. In a world where so many relationships feel unpredictable or dramatic, the presence of a man who remains composed under pressure can feel incredibly reassuring. When disagreements happen, he does not lose control. When stress appears, he remains thoughtful rather than reactive. When uncertainty arises, he observes rather than panicking. That composure creates a sense of emotional safety that makes the woman feel comfortable investing more deeply in the relationship. But what keeps that emotional safety from turning into boredom is the man's continued independence. His life still contains ambition, purpose, and forward movement. He continues building something meaningful beyond the relationship itself, and that forward movement gives the relationship direction. Instead of feeling like the connection is floating aimlessly, the woman senses that she is part of a larger journey the man is pursuing. This is also where admiration begins, playing an even bigger role in attraction. When a woman admires a man's discipline, his focus, and the way he handles life's challenges, her emotional investment deepens in ways that simple chemistry cannot replicate. Admiration turns attraction into respect, and respect makes desire far more stable over time. The relationship begins feeling meaningful, not only because of emotional connection, but because she genuinely respects the man she is with. Over time, this admiration and curiosity blend together to form a powerful emotional bond. The woman begins feeling that the relationship is not just about excitement, but about growth. She sees the man as someone who encourages her to evolve, someone whose presence inspires her rather than draining her. And this type of attraction becomes far more enduring than the kind created through emotional turbulence, because it is rooted in respect and genuine fascination. Eventually, the relationship reaches a stage where the woman feels emotionally attached in a way that seems almost effortless. She did not force those feelings. She was not persuaded into them through dramatic declarations. They grew naturally through the psychological experience of interacting with a man whose temperament created both stability and intrigue. His calm presence became something she associated with strength, and his independence kept the connection from ever feeling stagnant. And that is the deeper truth behind how attachment often develops in women. It is not created through constant emotional explanation or through manipulative games. It is created through the quiet power of a man who lives with composure, purpose, and independence. When a woman encounters that kind of presence, she does not feel pushed toward desire. She feels drawn toward it, naturally. Curiosity becomes fascination. Fascination becomes admiration, and admiration slowly transforms into the kind of attachment that grows stronger with time, rather than fading away. Once a woman reaches that stage of attachment, something subtle begins happening inside her perception of the man. She starts interpreting his presence differently than she did in the beginning. In the early stages, he was simply interesting. Now he becomes significant. His opinions start carrying more weight in her mind. The way he reacts to things matters more. When he is pleased, she notices it. When he becomes quiet or thoughtful, she wonders what he is thinking. This shift doesn't happen because the man demanded emotional investment. It happens because the psychological experience of interacting with him gradually convinced her that he is someone whose inner world is worth paying attention to. This is where many men make a serious mistake if they do not understand the dynamic that created this attachment. The moment they sense that the woman is emotionally invested, they suddenly change their entire behavior. They become overly accommodating. They start trying too hard to maintain the connection. They stop living the independent life that originally created attraction in the first place. And without realizing it, they slowly dismantle the very qualities that made the woman feel drawn toward them. The masculine temperament requires consistency, not consistency in the sense of rigid behavior, but consistency in character. The man who created attraction through calm composure and independence must continue living with that same internal balance even after the relationship deepens. His purpose does not disappear simply because the woman is now emotionally attached. His direction remains the same. The relationship grows alongside his life, rather than replacing it. When that consistency remains intact, something very powerful happens in the woman's emotional experience. The attachment does not weaken as the relationship becomes more familiar. Instead, it deepens. The curiosity she initially felt evolves into admiration. The admiration grows into trust. And that trust creates the emotional safety that allows love to develop without losing the spark of attraction that existed at the beginning. Another reason the masculine temperament sustains desire is because it communicates emotional self-control. A man who does not react impulsively to every emotional situation creates a feeling of stability that is extremely valuable in long-term relationships. Life inevitably brings stress, disagreement, uncertainty, and unexpected challenges. When a woman sees that the man beside her remains composed during those moments, she begins associating him with reliability and strength. That reliability builds a deep level of psychological comfort, but because the man maintains his independence and depth, the relationship never becomes dull. His personality continues revealing new aspects over time. His ambitions continue evolving. His life continues moving forward. The woman never feels like she has reached the end of discovering who he is. Instead, she feels like she is walking beside someone whose journey still contains many chapters ahead. This is also why many relationships built purely on emotional turbulence eventually collapse. Chaos may create strong emotions temporarily, but it rarely creates lasting admiration. The instability eventually exhausts both people involved. But the attraction created by masculine composure grows slowly and steadily, because it is rooted in respect, curiosity, and emotional security, rather than in dramatic intensity. When a woman feels both intrigue and stability with the same man, the connection becomes extremely powerful. She feels excitement because his personality continues revealing depth, At the same time, she feels calm because his emotional foundation does not shake easily. That rare combination makes the relationship feel both alive and safe, two qualities that many people struggle to experience together. And over time, the woman begins integrating the man into her emotional future. She starts imagining shared experiences ahead, seeing him as someone who fits naturally into the direction her life is moving. These thoughts appear quietly. They are not forced or discussed dramatically. They simply arise because the psychological experience of being with him has created trust, admiration, and curiosity all at the same time. In the end, the masculine temperament does not create attachment through pressure or persuasion. It creates attachment through presence, through the quiet confidence of a man who knows his path, maintains emotional composure, and continues growing regardless of whether the relationship exists or not. And when a woman encounters that kind of presence, she often finds herself drawn into his world, almost without realizing it, because the experience of being around him feels both grounding and fascinating at the same time.